What did your boss do that instantly killed employee morale? Story 1. A labor crew on some rich guy's estate. Everything ran great until he hired a new manager who proceeded to straight up act like a slave master, ordering us to do projects and then would go sit in the shade and play on his phone only to stop and yell at us. We all came together one morning to discuss our concerns with the rich guy, and he just tears into us saying, "Fuck you guys, I will fire all of you and have a new crew tomorrow." Totally killed any moral any of us had. Did you quit? Yes. What's funny is he pulled me aside and explained I was the irreplaceable employee. I had another job lined up and ghosted him by the weekend. Story 2. During contract negotiation, the boss man said we weren't paid to think. So we stopped thinking and followed orders only. That cost them. Story 3. On a recent call about an employee survey, said to the effect, "We see many of you commented about compensation, but we're going to focus on engagement and sense of belonging." It's bad enough to ignore the compensation problem, but to outright say they're ignoring it. Sense of belonging doesn't pay rent. I remember 10 years ago an exec explaining the whole engagement thing. We found that once we hit a certain wage level, we get diminishing returns on employee performance and retention. People don't work hard if they hate their job. So we instead focus on non-financial incentives that foster a sense of engagement and investment in the workplace. This was all well and good 10 years ago, and for a job with relatively high wages. But like everything else, it's been latched onto and strip-mined for every ounce it's worth. All of those strategies they're using work great when your employees have enough money to pay rent, not worry about food, and have their basic necessities secure. But when that security is not present due to depressed wages and inflated prices, they come across as cynical and insulting, and have the opposite effect. Story 4. They changed the way we do annual reviews. Instead of allowing me to give the raises to my direct reports based on their actual performance, HR stepped in and made all the decisions based on random gossip, instead of actual feedback through official channels. My opinion as their manager meant nothing compared to anonymous rumor. I quit shortly after that and told my team to get their resumes up to date. Within a year of me leaving, they saw how bad things were getting and left too. I still keep in contact with them, and I'm glad they all moved on to better opportunities. Yeah, this kind of reminds me of my last workplace where they gave you a box marking based on performance, but it was compared to everyone else in the company. Firstly, how the hell do you objectively and rationally do that? Secondly, somehow no one quite compared to the handful of employees you knew regularly hung out with and brown-nosed the bigwigs. Like, how is bias not going to creep into their performance ratings when thought's going on? It resulted in an annual performance review each year being told, "Oh, you did a really great job on such and such, but Jeremy from sales really wowed management on this other much cooler project, so you get a middle box mark." Safe to say my morale completely tanked and any will do to perform higher than average went out the window. Anyone from HR reading this, take note. Ranking employees compared to their peers based on hearsay from upper management will kill company morale big time. Story 5. I got barked at by my store manager for clocking in 2 minutes late Saturday because there was a giant street fest that sucked up all the parking. I had come in 2 hours early the day prior at her request to help out. Got a call today to see if I could come in on my day off. That's a no for me, doll. Story 6. If you are ever working for a company and hear that they are being acquired by an investment firm, start applying elsewhere. If you stay, just know that you are working for demons who would sooner squeeze every last drop of blood out of you than lose a single penny. I've been through it twice now. Never again. Story 7. My company used to auction off used laptops to employees. 90% of them were only available to employees at the main location, where most employees worked. People at some of the smaller locations complained that they never had a chance at the auctions, because laptops rarely came up at their locations. So they cancelled the whole program. Reminds me of when YouTube launched the feature to allow community members to submit translation subtitles to YouTube videos. YouTube channel owners could enable or disable this feature, or change any subtitles they wanted. All was great until bad actors started realizing that they could submit false translations to promote their own channels, online shops, or political agendas. Then people criticized YouTube for allowing that to happen, and that if they were going to launch such a feature, they should also not allow bad actors to do these kinds of things. YouTube said they couldn't possibly moderate this kind of activity themselves, but rather it was up to channel owners to moderate their own channels. Channel owners said they couldn't do it, as they were busy making their own videos and didn't have the resources to hire translators to make sure submissions were accurate. But didn't want to disable them because the non-malicious subtitles were very useful. So again, they criticized YouTube for, through their non-action, being biased against channels who don't have the resources to moderate their own subtitles. Which indirectly supports the bigger channels, which indirectly supports putting money in YouTube's own pockets. YouTube then discontinued the feature. Then everyone complained that YouTube was being tone deaf for cutting support for a feature that was so useful to so many people. Story 8. I used to work at a hotel as a housekeeper. One day our vacuum started sparking and smoked. Instead of replacing it, the employers just wrapped some tape around the cord. None of us housekeepers wanted to work there anymore after that happened, because the employers never replaced anything. If they did, then they went for the cheapest shit that broke right away. And we were not allowed to have breaks. They just wanted us to leave really quickly so they don't have to pay us more hours. Also called on scheduled days off if we couldn't come into work, and then made us feel guilty if we didn't. I used to work for our local school district in child nutrition as a specialist. The school I worked at for 3 years prior to when I quit in 2020 was probably the oldest building in the district. Having been built at least 30 years prior to serve as the town's high school, it was a middle school when I quit and is now serving as an admin building plus overflow for the "This is your last fucking chance before you get expelled" students. Most of the major equipment, ovens, dishwashers, steamers, were original to the building. So they broke down, frequently. Instead of replacing them as they probably should have done, the department staff kept sending the same damn incompetent assholes out to fix things. There was a cooler unit up front on the serving line which we used to hold jello, salads, etc. for service, and it kept breaking down, not able to hold temp, and of course, every time it quit holding temp, they'd send somebody out to fix it. One day, after it had recently been fixed, one of my coworkers took a tray of jello out to put in the cooler. She opened the doors to find out there was a freon leak and the damn thing was on fire. So what does my MGR do? She unplugs it and waits for the fire to go out and sticks a sign on there that says "Do not open." And of course department staff sends the same assholes out to fix it. They were using an arc welder and blocking half the pathway that I needed to be able to walk up and down so I could restock my serving line during lunch service. So I'm standing there, filling trays, doing what I need to do, while literally an inch behind me is a guy welding on the stupid cooler. His welder shooting sparks while I am trying to fucking serve food. I don't know if the sparks could have hit on my uniform and catch on fire, but I sure as hell didn't feel safe with him behind me. Sparks going off from whatever he was doing to fix the broken cooler unit. And that wasn't even the worst thing that happened while I worked there. I could tell you stories that would make your hair curl. Story 9. Forbid us from talking. I was doing security at a grocery store in Tacoma overnight, and we got some new instructions that we were not allowed to talk to the store employees, except about security issues. Nah, fuck that, me and Aaron are gonna keep talking about whatever, whenever. It's not getting in the way, and honestly, if some shit goes down, I want the employees there to like me and want to help me, not just see me as some replicable dollar store super trooper, silently standing watch in front of the giant Doritos display. Story 10. Accidentally email everyone in the organization contracts with everyone's salary before and after telling everyone that, despite doubling productivity in a year, the most they could do was 4% call increases. Odd how each member of leadership got 40-60% call raises. We were already annoyed at how they made 4-5x the average employee's salary after the first one, but that raise was what burned trust to the ground. Story 11. Sales. No one's gonna read this, but I got a vent. I work for a major tech support company you've probably heard of. Hell, they probably do your phone's tech support and insurance. Starts with an A. I was with them for 5.5 years. Starting sales absolutely ruined the company's entire corporate culture. Things were great. Best fucking job I'd ever had. Morale was amazing, everyone there loved their job and was happy to be there. The company treated people like individuals. They invested in their employees as human beings, developed them, helped them grow. So long as you put forth any effort in your job, you genuinely felt appreciated there, and honestly that's what made you want to put forth that effort. Then we got a new client. Majorist cell phone provider, rhymes with Horizon. Fuck them. First the rules. Okay, so they have high standards. A lot of our freedoms got taken away in the name of security. Hey, the client pays the bills and signs our paychecks, so okay, you know. Sure, we can accept that. Morale took a dip because we were no longer allowed to have books to read between calls, or paper of any kind to doodle on when one got bored, etc. But hey, the company still treated us well. And they paid way more than a lot of other places around town, so whatever, it was fine. About a year later, said client decided they wanted sales, and that's when shit hit the fan. The pilot went very well. I was on it. We killed it. And they promised us it was just going to be light sales, no pressure. People immediately started to complain or even leave the company, because they specifically took this job because we didn't do sales, and now they were out. But again, we killed it, and both the company and the client got greedy. I got to see it at a tech support expert level, and then I got promoted and got to see it from the management level, and holy shit, things went south fast. No pressure, my ass. Within a year, your only value to the company was sales. Literally did not give a shit about any other metrics unless you were an absolute dumpster fire, and even then it got tied into sales. Call times too long? Shorten them, so you can talk to more customers and get more sales. Call QA scores bad? Better improve those, because you can't sell if the customer isn't happy. The entire corporate culture changed drastically, and valued employees became cows to milk until they ran dry and then fired. Morale plummeted. Yes, employees got sales bonuses, but it was not enough to put up with the awful amounts of pressure put on them to sell. And the company got greedier and greedier and greedier. People were afraid to do anything but the bare minimum, because if you did well that became your new standard. If a goal was set for you to get 10 sales in a week and you got lucky with 15 one week, your new goal was 15 from there on out. People were miserable. Employee turnover turned into straight-up attrition, as people started leaving the company in droves. Brilliant, hardworking, talented people who should have shot up the corporate ladder were just ground into the dirt with sales pressure until they found something better. And as a supervisor I hated myself for having to put that pressure on them. I was always a mid to low mid-performing supervisor because I just couldn't bring myself to do that to these people who trusted me to be their leader. All I asked was that they hit goal. I could have been one of those hard-driving supervisors who barked at his team and sounded like some kind of angry sports coach, but I just couldn't do it to them. These were people showing up to a job, with lives and families. Ugh. TL. Dr. Fuck Asrian and fuck Verizon for doing sales. You ruined your corporate culture, and now everyone's review bombing you on OpenDoor for treating your employees like shit. Edit. I just found out from a friend who's still with the company that not only did Asrian just close the majority of their call centers, but now they're doing massive layoffs. At all levels of the company. She was name dropping left and right, even senior management, career names I've known for years. Man, I'm glad I got out of there.